Within each of us lies an inner universe, boundless and teeming with thought. It cuts through confusion, illuminating the path forward with focused intent. As you move forward from this exploration, consider this. What is one small step you can take today to begin cultivating a more thoughtful, less overthinking mind? The greatest journeys begin with a single, intentional step. What will yours be on this ancient path to modern mental clarity? But then there is overthinking, the mind turning in on itself. A loop of anxieties, replaying scenarios without resolution, draining vital energy. This mental churn creates fog, obscuring judgment and paralyzing decision-making. It's the echo chamber of doubt, where small concerns grow into mountains. This isn't problem-solving. It's a state of mental friction and disquiet. How do we distinguish the signal from this pervasive, internal noise? The mind is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it requires skill. Unchecked, it can become a source of profound and unnecessary suffering. We often mistake the intensity of thought for its productivity or importance. This mental landscape can be a source of incredible creativity and profound insight. But more thinking isn't always better thinking. Sometimes it is the opposite. This internal friction, this mental static, has a name: rumination. It's the mind replaying the same negative thoughts, like a broken record. This pattern leads to anxiety, stress, and a feeling of powerlessness. We search for an off switch, a way to calm the relentless inner critic. Is there a path to quiet the storm and find mental stillness? The noise of overthinking can drown out our own inner wisdom. It is a modern malady with surprisingly ancient roots and remedies. Philosophers and sages throughout history have grappled with this very challenge. They understood the mind's capacity for both creation and self-destruction. Yet it can also become a labyrinth, a storm of endless circling worries. Their insights offer timeless techniques to regain control and find peace. Imagine reclaiming your mental space from the tyranny of anxious thoughts. This isn't about suppressing thoughts, but transforming our relationship to them. Ancient wisdom provides a compass to navigate our inner worlds. These are not abstract theories, but practical tools for everyday life. We can learn to observe our thoughts without becoming entangled in them. This journey begins with understanding the nature of thinking itself. The ancient Stoics, Buddhists, and Socratic thinkers knew this terrain well. They offer pathways to transform overthinking into clarity and purposeful action. Let us explore these ancient fixes for our very modern, stressed minds. Have you ever felt your own mind working against you, relentlessly? The power to reclaim your peace of mind is closer than you think. To understand how to manage overthinking, we must first clearly distinguish it from productive thinking. Productive thinking is focused, goal-oriented, and constructive. It analyzes problems, weighs options, and moves towards solutions or deeper understanding. It's the kind of mental work that builds, creates, and innovates. Imagine an architect meticulously planning a structure, or a scientist methodically working through an experiment. This is the mind engaged in its most fruitful labor. Overthinking, or rumination, conversely, is repetitive, circular, and often unproductive. It's like a wheel spinning in mud, generating much activity but no forward motion. The same thoughts, usually worries or negative self-appraisals, replay endlessly. Instead of solving problems, this mental habit tends to magnify them, creating anxiety, stress, and a sense of being stuck. It is a common human experience, yet deeply unhelpful when it becomes a dominant pattern. The key difference lies in outcome and feeling. Productive thinking often leads to a sense of clarity, progress, or at least a plan of action, even if the problem isn't fully solved. It feels purposeful. Overthinking, however, typically leaves one feeling more anxious, tired, and less clear than before. It is characterized by what-if scenarios that spiral into negativity and a replaying of past events without extracting new lessons. Consider the mind as a garden. Productive thinking is like carefully tending to the plants, weeding, watering, and nurturing growth. It involves conscious effort and discernment. Overthinking is akin to letting weeds overrun the entire garden, choking out the beautiful flowers and useful herbs. These weeds are the persistent, negative thoughts that grow uncontrollably if not addressed, consuming mental space and energy without yielding any positive harvest. The consequences of chronic overthinking are significant. It can lead to decision paralysis, where the sheer volume of replayed anxieties makes choosing a course of action feel impossible. It fuels anxiety disorders, contributes to depression, and can even impact physical health through chronic stress. Recognizing these patterns is the first crucial step towards reclaiming mental peace and redirecting that precious mental energy more constructively. Fortunately, ancient philosophies offer profound and practical wisdom for this very modern predicament. They recognize the power of the mind, both to create suffering and to achieve liberation from it. The Stoics, for instance, developed remarkable techniques to manage internal responses to external events, focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts and judgments. They sought a state of apatheia or tranquility, not through suppressing emotion but through understanding it. One potent Stoic technique is premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This isn't about wallowing in negativity, but rather calmly and rationally considering potential future misfortunes or challenges. By visualizing things going wrong, losing a job, facing illness, encountering setbacks, we can mentally prepare, reduce the shock if they do occur, and appreciate what we currently have more deeply. It robs anxiety of its power by confronting worst-case scenarios head-on. This practice helps differentiate between what we can control and what we cannot. If a negative event is outside our control, excessive worry is futile. If it's partially within our control, premeditation allows us to plan and take preventative action. For example, instead of vaguely worrying about financial instability, one might consider specific steps like building savings or acquiring new skills. It turns vague anxiety into concrete, manageable points. Another aspect of Stoic practice involves focusing on the present moment and appreciating what you have, rather than yearning for what you don't or fearing what you might lose. Negative visualization, paradoxically, can lead to increased gratitude. By imagining the absence of your health, loved ones, or comforts, you come to value them more profoundly in the present. This shifts the mind from a state of lack and anxiety to one of appreciation and resilience. This experience is ancient, a timeless human struggle with our inner chatter. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of distinguishing between an event itself and our judgment about it. The event is neutral, our interpretation gives it power. As Epictetus said, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Overthinking often involves layering negative judgments and catastrophic interpretations onto neutral or ambiguous events. Learning to observe without immediate judgment is a powerful antidote. This discipline of separating event from judgment is not about suppressing emotion, but about understanding its source. When we realize our distress comes from our interpretation, not the thing itself, we gain a locus of control. We can then question and reframe those interpretations, choosing more rational and constructive perspectives. This cognitive shift is central to breaking the cycle of overthinking and cultivating inner peace. Buddhist philosophy offers complementary practices, particularly mindfulness, for dealing with an overactive mind. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention to the present moment, to your thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment without judgment. It's about observing the flow of your inner experience with a gentle, accepting awareness, rather than getting swept away by it or trying to fight it. When overthinking arises, mindfulness encourages you to notice the thoughts as just thoughts, transient mental events like clouds passing in the sky. You don't have to believe them, engage with them, or act on them. By simply observing their arrival and departure, you create a space between yourself, the observer, and your thoughts. This space is crucial for breaking the cycle of rumination. This practice of non-judgmental observation helps to de-identify from your thoughts. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that perceives them. Realizing this significantly reduces their power. An anxious thought, when merely observed, loses its urgency and its ability to trigger a cascade of further anxious thinking. It becomes just one more mental event, passing through awareness without taking root. Buddhist teachings also emphasize the impermanence of all phenomena, including thoughts and emotions. Just as physical sensations come and go, so do mental states. Understanding this deeply can be very liberating. When caught in a loop of negative thinking, remembering that this too shall pass can provide comfort and perspective. The storm of thought, no matter how intense, will eventually subside if we don't continually feed it. This focus on impermanence isn't pessimistic, it's realistic and ultimately freeing. It allows us to hold our thoughts and experiences more lightly. If we are not clinging to positive thoughts or desperately resisting negative ones, we find a greater sense of equanimity. This balanced state of mind is less prone to the extremes that fuel overthinking, allowing for a more stable and peaceful inner environment. The Socratic method, stemming from ancient Greek philosophy, offers another powerful tool: the art of questioning one's own thoughts. Socrates famously engaged in dialogues that challenged assumptions and sought deeper understanding through inquiry. We can apply this internally by cross-examining the validity of our worrisome thoughts, especially those that drive overthinking. When a persistent worry arises, ask yourself, is this thought true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? Often, we find our fears are based on assumptions or possibilities, not certainties. Then ask, how do I react? What happens when I believe this thought? This helps identify the emotional and behavioral consequences of clinging to that particular belief, showing its impact. Next, consider, who would I be without this thought? This question opens up the possibility of a different inner experience, one free from the burden of that specific worry. It allows you to glimpse a state of mind unclouded by that particular piece of overthinking. This process doesn't aim to suppress thoughts but to investigate them, understand their foundations or lack thereof, and loosen their grip on your mind. Our thoughts, sometimes clear streams, sometimes a raging, turbulent flood. By systematically questioning the thoughts that fuel rumination, we can begin to dismantle their power. This internal Socratic dialogue acts like a filter, helping to separate rational concerns that require action from irrational fears that merely cause distress. It's a method of mental self-correction, empowering us to become more discerning thinkers rather than passive recipients of our own mental chatter. Applying these ancient techniques, Stoic premeditation, Buddhist mindfulness, Socratic inquiry, is not a one-time fix but an ongoing practice. Like strengthening a muscle, cultivating mental clarity and resilience requires consistent effort. Start small. Perhaps dedicate a few minutes each day to observing your thoughts without judgment, or choose one recurring worry to question Socratically. When you find yourself spiraling into overthinking, try to recognize the pattern. Pause, take a breath. This simple act can create a crucial moment of separation from the mental vortex. Then you might choose a tool. Am I catastrophizing? Perhaps some Stoic negative visualization could ground me. Am I lost in replay? Mindfulness can bring me to the present. Is this fear rational? Socratic questions can test its validity. It's important to be patient and compassionate with yourself during this process. The habit of overthinking is often deeply ingrained. There will be times when you get caught in the loop again. This is normal. The key is not to berate yourself, but to gently bring yourself back to your chosen practice. Much like a meditator gently returns their focus to the breath when the mind wanders. Consider journaling as a way to externalize and examine your thoughts. Writing down your worries can sometimes reduce their intensity, making them seem more manageable once they are on paper rather than just swirling in your head. You can then apply Socratic questioning to what you've written or identify triggers for your overthinking patterns, gaining valuable self-awareness in the process. Remember that these ancient philosophers were not abstract theorists isolated from life's struggles. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic, was a Roman emperor facing immense pressures. Epictetus was born a slave. Their philosophies were forged in the crucible of real-world challenges. This makes their advice not only timeless but also deeply practical and relatable to the stresses we face today. however different their outward form. The goal isn't to eliminate all negative thoughts or to achieve a state of constant, unblinking bliss. That's unrealistic and perhaps even undesirable, as some concerns are valid prompts for action. Rather, the aim is to cultivate a mind that is less frequently hijacked by unproductive rumination, a mind that can discern, choose its focus, and return to a state of equilibrium more readily. Productive thinking is a dialogue. Overthinking is often a monologue, a self-absorbed echo chamber. Engaging in meaningful conversation with a trusted friend, mentor, or therapist can also be immensely helpful. Voicing your thoughts and hearing an external perspective can break the repetitive loop and offer new insights that are hard to reach when trapped in your own head. Physical activity can also be a surprisingly effective antidote to overthinking. Engaging the body, whether through a walk in nature, vigorous exercise, or mindful movement like yoga or Tai Chi, can shift your focus away from mental chatter and into present-moment physical sensation. This provides a natural break for the mind and can often lead to a refreshed perspective when you return to your thoughts. The Stoic concept of the inner citadel is powerful here. It refers to building an unassailable fortress of mental resilience and virtue within yourself, a place of calm and clarity that external events or internal anxieties cannot breach. This citadel is built stone by stone, through consistent practice of rational thought, emotional regulation, and living by your values, regardless of the chaos outside. Productive thinking builds bridges, forging pathways to solutions and understanding. Buddhist mindfulness practices, like focusing on the breath, serve as an anchor to the present moment. When the mind begins to race with what-ifs or replays of the past, gently guiding your attention back to the simple, physical sensation of breathing in and out can interrupt the overthinking cycle. Each breath is a new moment, an opportunity to reset and return to now. Socratic questioning, when practiced regularly, can become an almost automatic internal reflex. When a distressing thought takes hold, a part of your mind can learn to step back and ask, "Hold on, is that really true? What's the evidence?" This internal interrogator, when cultivated with curiosity rather than harshness, becomes a powerful ally in maintaining mental hygiene and clarity. It's also useful to identify your personal triggers for overthinking. Are there specific situations, people, or times of day when you're more prone to it? Awareness of these triggers allows you to prepare, perhaps by preemptively engaging in a mindfulness practice or having a Socratic question ready if those familiar thought patterns begin to emerge. This is proactive mental self-care. Embracing imperfection is another key. Overthinking often stems from a desire for certainty or perfection that is rarely attainable in life. Accepting that ambiguity, mistakes, and uncertainties are part of the human experience can reduce the pressure to mentally solve everything. Sometimes, the most productive thought is the acceptance of not knowing, or the willingness to proceed despite uncertainty. The ancient quest for eudaimonia, or human flourishing, as discussed by philosophers like Aristotle, wasn't just about feeling good, but about living well, in accordance with reason and virtue. Managing overthinking is integral to this, as a mind consumed by anxiety is a mind less capable of engaging in the activities and relationships that constitute a flourishing life. Think of these philosophical tools not as rigid rules, but as flexible guides. Different techniques will resonate more or less with different people, or at different times. The art lies in developing a toolkit of mental strategies and learning which one to apply when faced with the particular flavor of overthinking that arises. This adaptability itself is a sign of growing mental mastery. The energy consumed by overthinking is immense. Imagine redirecting even a fraction of that mental energy towards creative pursuits, learning new skills, deepening relationships, or contributing to something meaningful. This isn't just about stopping a negative pattern. It's about liberating resources for positive growth and engagement with the world. Limiting exposure to information overload, especially negative news or excessive social media, can also help calm a mind prone to overthinking. In an age of constant connectivity, consciously creating periods of quiet and disconnection allows the mind to settle and reduces the external stimuli that can trigger anxious thought loops. This is a modern application of the ancient value of contemplative quiet. Cultivating gratitude, as encouraged by Stoics and many other traditions, actively shifts focus from what's wrong or lacking to what's present and good. Regularly noting things you are thankful for, no matter how small, can build a buffer against negativity and reorient the mind towards appreciation, making it a less fertile ground for anxious rumination. Ultimately, the journey from overthinking to clearer thinking is a journey towards greater self-awareness and self-mastery. It's about understanding the intricate workings of your own mind and learning to navigate its vast potential with wisdom and skill. The ancient philosophers provided the maps. The journey is ours to take, step by thoughtful step. It seeks clarity, navigates complexity, and aims for purposeful action. The peace that comes from a well-managed mind is not a fragile, fleeting thing, but a robust and resilient state. It allows for deeper engagement with life, more meaningful connections, and a greater capacity to handle challenges with grace and wisdom. This is the promise held out by these ancient techniques, a promise of not just less stress, but more life. The Stoic practice of amor fati, or love of fate, encourages us to not merely tolerate but to embrace whatever happens, including our challenges and misfortunes, as if we had chosen them ourselves. This radical acceptance transforms struggle into an opportunity for growth and strength, short-circuiting the why me loop of overthinking and replacing it with a proactive, what can I learn or do from here? Similarly, Buddhist compassion practices, starting with self-compassion, are vital. Overthinking is often fueled by harsh self-criticism. Learning to treat oneself with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a struggling friend can soften the inner critic and create a more supportive internal environment, making it harder for rumination to take hold and thrive. The Socratic commitment to know thyself is the bedrock of all these approaches. The more deeply you understand your own tendencies, triggers, values, and habitual thought patterns, the better equipped you become to consciously choose your responses. This self-knowledge isn't a final destination but an ongoing process of discovery, facilitated by introspection and honest self-assessment. Remember that distinguishing between productive problem-solving and destructive rumination is a skill. Productive thinking seeks solutions, generates options, or leads to acceptance. Rumination circles, intensifies negativity, and offers no escape. Noticing this difference in real time is a significant step towards choosing a more helpful mental pathway. Practice identifying. Am I problem-solving, or am I just worrying in circles right now? These ancient techniques are not about achieving an empty mind, but a clear mind, a mind that can think effectively when needed and rest peacefully when not. It's about shifting from being a victim of your thoughts to becoming a skillful conductor of your mental orchestra, choosing which instruments to play and when to allow for silence. The Stoic emphasis on virtue as the sole good provides a powerful anchor. If your primary aim is to act with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, then many of the anxieties fueled by overthinking, about external approval, material gain, or avoiding discomfort, lose their sting. Your focus shifts from uncontrollable outcomes to controllable actions and character. Mindfulness helps us appreciate the richness of the present moment, which is often overlooked when we're lost in thoughts about the past or future. The taste of food, the feeling of sunlight, the sound of birdsong, these simple realities become more vivid and nourishing when our minds are not elsewhere, consumed by worry. This grounding in the present is a powerful antidote to mental drift. Socratic questioning empowers us to be skeptical of our own negative certainties. I'll definitely fail. No one understands me. This will be a disaster. How often do these pronouncements, delivered with such authority by our inner critic, actually turn out to be true? By challenging them, we reclaim our cognitive autonomy and open ourselves to more realistic and often more hopeful possibilities. The cumulative effect of these practices is not just reduced stress, but increased mental resilience. Like a tree that has weathered many storms, a mind trained in these ancient arts becomes stronger, more flexible, and better able to withstand life's inevitable challenges without being uprooted by anxiety or lost in the fog of overthinking. This resilience is a profound form of freedom. This is the mind as a finely tuned instrument, sharp and effective. These ancient techniques, from Stoic acceptance to Buddhist presence to Socratic inquiry, are fundamentally about cultivating wisdom. Not just intellectual knowledge, but practical wisdom that informs how we live, how we relate to ourselves, and how we navigate the complexities of our inner and outer worlds. This wisdom is the true fix for a mind stressed by overthinking. As we integrate these practices, we begin to notice subtle shifts. The gaps between worrisome thoughts might grow longer. The intensity of anxious feelings may lessen. We might find ourselves catching the beginning of an overthinking spiral and choosing a different mental path more easily. These small victories are the markers of progress on the path to mental clarity. The beauty of these ancient approaches lies in their universality. They address fundamental aspects of the human condition, our capacity for thought, our vulnerability to suffering, and our potential for wisdom and peace. Regardless of culture or era, the challenge of managing the mind remains, and these tools continue to offer profound and relevant guidance for us today. Remember, the mind can be your greatest ally or your most challenging adversary. The choice of which it becomes is, to a significant extent, cultivated through awareness and practice. By learning to differentiate between thinking that serves you and thinking that drains you, you empower yourself to harness your mental energy for a more fulfilling and peaceful existence. These ancient fixes are not about suppressing your intellect or emotions. Instead, they are about refining them, directing them, and understanding them more deeply. They teach us to use the magnificent tool of our mind with greater skill, compassion, and wisdom, transforming it from a source of stress into a wellspring of insight and resilience. The journey to a calmer mind is personal and continuous. There is no final destination where overthinking vanishes forever, but there is a path towards significantly reducing its power and frequency. Each conscious breath, each questioned assumption, each moment of mindful presence is a step along that ancient and ever-relevant way. So to summarize our exploration, we've seen that productive thinking is goal-oriented and constructive, while overthinking is repetitive, circular, and anxiety-inducing. Ancient philosophies like Stoicism, Buddhism, and Socratic inquiry offer potent remedies, premeditating challenges, practicing mindfulness, questioning our thoughts, and cultivating an inner citadel of resilience. These are not mere theories but actionable strategies. The key takeaways are to first recognize the pattern of overthinking. Then, create space through pausing and mindful observation. Apply specific techniques like negative visualization to reduce fear, non-judgmental awareness to detach from thoughts, or Socratic questioning to dismantle irrational beliefs. Consistent practice, patience, and self-compassion are crucial for integrating these ancient fixes into your modern life. The power to shift from a stressed, overthinking mind to a clearer, more purposeful state of being lies within your grasp. It is a cultivation, a gentle but persistent training of attention and perspective. The wisdom of ages past affirms that such transformation is possible, offering a timeless invitation to inner peace and mental freedom, even amidst the complexities of our contemporary world. Reflect on your own mental habits. Where does your thinking serve you, and where does it ensnare you? The insights from these ancient philosophers are not just historical artifacts. They are living tools, waiting to be picked up and used by anyone seeking to navigate their inner world with greater skill and serenity. The path is open.